Thank you, Professor Kosa. Good morning, everyone. Here, my name is Danoglidis, Assistant Professor at the University of Texas at Arlington, and today I will present you our latest research about the development of concrete using carbon and cellulose fibers and in general agricultural byproducts and nanomaterials, so to lower and even go to the net zero goal of embodied carbon emissions. Actually, a promising pathway, there is indeed a promising pathway to control and nullify the greenhouse gas emissions of concrete by using agricultural byproducts. And one of them, biochar, has been intensively investigated and used as a material for soil amendments, water, for air filtration, and this is because of biochar's unique porous structure, 3D porous structure. Biochar exhibits a unique porosity, and also due to its aromatic structure and actually the ultra low oxygen to carbon ratio, biochar can also exhibit a high, an extremely high actually, stoichiometric CO2 potential of around 60%. Let me enable the pointer here. 60%. So the combination of this porous structure and the high stoichiometric CO uptake potential of biochar make this material an ideal candidate to prepare cementitious materials, concrete, with a CO2 sequestration capacity. And actually, if biochar can be properly used in cementitious matrix, we can target a new type of concrete, a biochar concrete, that can perform as well as conventional OPC concrete. And this will be a win-win alternative in the construction industry towards this goal to develop low-carbon concrete materials that are sustainable. For this research, we developed OPC mortars by using biochar as OPC replacement at two amounts, 1% and 1.5% per weight of cement, and we characterize the mechanical properties of these biochar mortar composites. The flexural strength values of the 3, 7, and 28-day specimens are shown in the graph on the left part of the slide. And we observe actually that the addition of biochar at these two amounts, 1 and 1.5%, increases the flexural strength by at all ages of hydration. And actually the 28-day biochar mortars exhibits an up to almost 10% higher flexural strength, and this is a promising result. The compressive strength values of the specimens are shown in the graph on the right part of the slide, and from the results we observe that mortars with 1% of biochar indeed exhibits a higher compressive strength. However, when we increase the dosage of biochar, then the compressive strength decreases. So the 1.5% biochar mortars exhibits a reduced compressive strength. And this can be attributed to the porous structure of biochar, so a higher amount deteriorates the mechanical properties of the cementitious materials. We evaluated the carbon sequestration potential, the carbon capture and mineralization capacity of this biochar concrete with a dosage of 1% per weight of cement. And we followed a specific carbonation regime. After 3 days of conventional curing, the specimens were moved to a carbonation chamber with 12% CO2 concentration and 65% relative humidity for 7 days, which corresponds to 10 days, 3 days of moist curing and 7 days of carbonation curing. And actually, we assess the carbon mineralization capacity. We followed this carbonation regime, this exposure concentration of CO2, to mimic the CO2 sequestration capacity of concrete, which is exposed to outdoor conditions in metropolitan areas for approximately 3 years. And the CO2 sequestration was assessed through TGA tests. Using the weight temperature data from a TGA test, we determined the actual amounts, percent amount of calcium carbonates by quantifying the weight loss between the temperature of 525 degrees Celsius and 900 degrees Celsius, which is the temperature range for decarbonization of calcium carbonates. And as we observe from the graph in the right part of this slide, the carbonated biochar concrete specimens exhibits an almost 1.6% higher CO2 mineralization capacity compared to the OPC mortars. This behavior can be attributed partly to the porous microstructure of biochar. Here in the SCM picture, we see a network of biochar, of this porous biochar, and this creates actually continuous channels within the cementitious matrix and facilitates the diffusion of CO2. And these porous pathways facilitates actually the preferential precipitation of carbonates as shown here in the SCM picture in the right part of this slide. We see actually hexagonal and cubical shaped carbonate crystals within these biochar channels, and we can say that there is precipitation of biochar, of calcium carbonates within these biochar networks in concrete matrix. Moving on to another agricultural waste byproduct, the fibrillated biomass, there is in high amounts and is actually been routinely used in the form of pulp biomass, such as the pulp with straw. All these materials are classified as waste cellulose fibers, and these fibers are often incinerated in the agricultural industry, and this is a practice for removing the waste. Unfortunately, this practice has a detrimental impact on the environment due to the high CO2 emissions produced. Currently, only 10% of these waste cellulose fibers is being recycled and finds applications as alternative reinforcing material for eco-efficient composites. In general, the waste cellulose fibers exhibit a high tensile strength, low thermal conductivity, high retention capacity, and the waste cellulose fibers are a lightweight material. It is due to this combination of properties and of the unique fibrillar morphology of the waste cellulose fibers that makes them a candidate for developing eco-efficient concrete which is sustainable, can exhibit improved mechanical performance. And also, as an added benefit, these waste fibers exhibits a substantially lower global warming potential compared especially to synthetic fibers. So therefore, they can definitely be an asset for a lower carbon footprint concrete. We developed waste cellulose fibers concrete mixtures in our lab, and we tested actually a variety of waste cellulose fibers. In this slide, I am showing you the results of the mechanical properties of mortars, concrete reinforced with one type of fibers, waste cellulose fibers derived from this pulp with straw at an amount of 0.15% per weight of cement. From The rate of the flexural strength development shown in this graph in the left part of this slide, we observe that addition of fibers increases the flexural strength at the 3 and 7 day specimens. However, we see that the 28-day specimens, the strength of the 28-day specimen is reduced by 5%. And as it can be clearly seen from the load CMOD curves, the load to crack mouth opening displacement curves shown in the graph on the right part of the slide, the 28-day waste cellulose fiber concrete exhibits a decreased load bearing capacity at both the elastic and the post-elastic stages of the formation. That results in a reduced overall tensile energy strain absorption capacity of the fiber composites by approximately 10%. Upon further examination, it appears actually that these cellulose fibers are quite sensitive, and especially in the highly alkaline environment of concrete. The cellulose fibers actually tend to suffer disintegration, which is also known as the embrittlement of fibers, which leads to a loss of elasticity of the fiber surface and the formation of cavities. As shown in the picture, in the SEM picture in the upper corner of the slide, this process results in a loss of interfacial bonding between the fiber and the matrix and explains the reduced tensile load bearing capacity of the composites, which we observed from the mechanical properties. This phenomenon actually is not really specific for this type of cellulose fibers. We see this often in other types of fibers, such as the polypropylene fibers and the basalt fibers. So, to alleviate actually this problem, and our target is to protect the fibers from being attacked while in the high pH of concrete. So, we need to prevent the fibers from hydrolysis. In this research, we applied a novel technique that would selectively reduce the alkalinity at the interface between the fiber and the matrix, and we applied some carbonation regimes that I will explain in the next slides. But here, I'm first showing you results from SEM-EDS analysis of the waste cellulose fiber concrete, which is subjected to moist curing, conventional curing for 28 days. And the results are presented in the left part of the slide. We see from the EDS results a high calcium concentration on the fiber's outer surface, which actually attracted by the negatively charged ions which are absorbed on the fiber's surface. The red peak here at around 29 microns is due to the carbon content of the fibers. The SEM-EDS analysis for the specimens after 28-day carbonation show a significantly reduced calcium concentration at the fiber matrix interface here. And the presence actually of carbonates is confirmed by the diffused area here shown in the red curve between 20 and 37 microns. We further examined the properties of the interfacial area, and actually we evaluated the mechanical properties between the fiber and the CSH, and we used a nano-IR AFM to evaluate the modulus of elasticity of the interface between the fiber and matrix for the non-carbonated and the carbonated specimens. And actually we conducted the quantitative nanomechanical property mapping. While the modulus of elasticity of the cementitious matrix here for the moist curing specimens is pretty consistent. We see a median value of around 21 gigapascal. The low modulus of elasticity values at the interface on the left part here suggest a hollowed area due to the embrittlement of the fiber that occurs during this conventional moist curing process. On the other hand, we see here the AFM pictures and the modulus results of the carbonated specimens. We see that the carbonated specimens present three distinct phases. The interfacial area here extends from 0 to 17 microns, and we observe that the modulus of elasticity of the interface is much higher than the modulus of the carbonated CSH. From the modulus of elasticity of the interface is around 52 gigapascal, while the modulus of elasticity of the carbonated CSH is around 35 gigapascal. Different carbonation regimes were examined for this study to optimize the carbonation method using the mechanical property results. And here actually I'm showing you results of the carbonation at 6% CO2 starting immediately after casting. The results are in the left part of the slide. And the results of 6% CO2 carbonation starting 3 days after moist curing, which are shown in the right part. Both studies suggest here that flexural strength, compressive strength, and modulus of elasticity are increasing due to carbonation approximately at the same rate. We did notice, though, that the 3-day moist curing regime was giving a little lower compressive, flexural strength values, and modulus of elasticity results. We know that because of the formation of calcium carbonates, the brittleness of the cementitious matrix increases. And we conducted fracture mechanics tests to assess the brittleness of the material by evaluating the fracture energy and the fracture process zone length. Interestingly here, immediate carbonation results in a much higher brittleness as suggested by the lower fracture energy and fracture process zone length values, which are observed here in the table. It appears that allowing the material to this conventional curing, moist curing for the first 3 days after casting, before applying carbonation, enhances the ductile behavior. And we observe that from the elongated crack mouth opening displacement value at failure, which is around 0.026 millimeter. So while this technique was originally used to face the sensitivity of the waste cellulose fibers to the alkaline environment of concrete, this optimized carbonation curing process appears to offer a dual-purpose solution with regards to the mechanical performance of the fiber-reinforced concrete after carbonation, and also we observed here from the TGA results on the left part that the min-eralization capacity of the fiber-reinforced concrete is increased by 30% compared to the OPC. And the ACM imaging revealed actually a similarity with biochar. The waste cellulose fibers, due to their tubular morphology, can also provide channels where actually the min-eralization preferentially takes place at the interface between the fiber and matrix, and also inside the hollow structure of the fibers. We calculated the carbon footprint of this eco-efficient concrete, and it appears that the high carbon emission OPC can reduce the carbon footprint by using waste, agricultural waste products. For example, the way cellulose fiber concrete exhibits a much lower CO2 emissions from around 995 pounds per cubic yard, while the addition of biochar in OPC results in a biochar OPC concrete with almost zero emissions. So we can safely claim for a net zero carbon concrete. The question here is, can we go beyond this net zero scenario? This will require a non-traditional approach to modify the carbonation kinetics and further enhance the CO2 capture and mineralization capacity. The answer is yes, and this is a previous slide of the second part of this work, and Professor Costa will continue this with a presentation in the next session. So, as a conclusion, using agricultural byproducts, we can develop concrete, sustainable eco-efficient concrete with enhanced resiliency and ductility and increase carbon mineralization capacity.